Buenos días, yo soy Héctor Pelayo y este es su programa ALMA en la Comunidad. El día de hoy nos encontramos con el doctor Douglas Kmiec.
Mi nombre es Douglas Kmiec, candidato independiente para Distrito 26, independiente por familia, por reforma de migratoria, por familia, mejores trabajo. My desire is to genuinely honor the memory of Cesar Chavez, because I became interested in politics because of my father, mi padre. Mi nombre es inusual, ¿sí? Mi padre used to say, dice, radio estación con un más cartas, and el gist, of course. But my father taught me that the most important cosa en la vida es la familia. If the family is strong, if there is work with dignity for the family, then the rest of cultura es bueno. If the family is threatened, as it is now because the immigration law is broken, then the whole culture is at risk. You know, and what bothers me the most is that good people who would want to run for office are told they have to be rich to run for office. They have to have millions of dollars because of the corporations who give unlimited amounts. But that's not me. I've decided to run as a teacher of the Constitution at Notre Dame and Pepperdine, and to illustrate the point that someone who loves his family, who loves his country, who wants to see all people welcomed here, because the more people that are welcomed here and are working here, the richer in the sense of culture do we become.
Así de que usted está corriendo independientemente para el Congreso de la Nación, digamos, para ayudar a las personas, porque usted cree que la familia es lo más importante, porque usted cree que tiene que respetarse la intención de las personas de querer progresar, de que usted apoya una reforma migratoria. ¿No es así?
Reforma migratoria por familia, sí, exactamente. Reforma migratoria por la familia, because that's what, you know, the notion that people are here unlawfully is a strange notion, because people come out of the same motivation. They come to work. They come to work for their families. They come to be a contributor to the community. The Archbishop Gomez escribe su libro de inmigración. Es magnífico because it dice la familia de hombre. We are todos hermanos y hermanas. We are one family. This is an important election because it's an opportunity to reflect on what our needs are and to make sure that the Congreso meets those needs. They're not doing it now. It's nada. The Congreso es no suceso, no achivo. The migratorio reforma es cerrado.
Está detenida la reforma migratoria, ¿verdad?
Sí, migratoria reforma. The Senate has passed the legislation, but it's just sitting there. And it's sitting there because people are unwilling to address the basic needs of our culture. What are our needs? We need a home. We need a good education for our children. We need health. And their needs are not unlike the needs of all people who come to a new country, right? They need employment, good job. They need a fair wage, dólares familiar. They need to be respected as men and women, not harassed on the job, not subjected to environmental conditions that put them at risk, where the pesticides and so forth make them ill. It's muy importante por trabajo that is for healthy, that is paying a decent wage, that allows families to buy a home, or at least to rent a decent home that they can feel safe in the neighborhoods where they are at. And these things don't get done if the Congress just keeps being divided. I'm running as an independent because I've worked for both parties. They both have good features, but the idea is to put the best ideas forward regardless of partisanship. And I know a little bit something about how to get things done in Washington because I've been an abogado por Estados Unidos, and I can use that knowledge to advance legislation that is otherwise not being acted on.
Well, that's wonderful. So you are pro-education, pro-reforma migratoria, right?
Right, exactly. The immigration reform has to be a reform that is sensitive to family. The idea is, the notion of removing people who have been here all of their lives is just so hurtful and so contrary to the dignity of the human spirit that it does not represent the best of the United States. Yo creo en America. The citizens of Mexico that come here, yo creo en America. That's what attracted them. And we should be welcoming and embracing of the things that they offer to us, which are the things really that matter to all of us. A family that can work together, that pulls together in the same way, that lives in a healthy environment, that goes to school, that learns the languages and the skills of the 21st century is the things that, I want to work for. We have far too much wealth concentrated at the top. The top 1% of our country is doing very, very well. But the bottom 99%, especially the hardworking folks who are trying to make their housing payments and their food payments and their school payments, are struggling. They are running, and they're never catching up. It's time that we move the tax system in such a way that the monies that are paid to the middle class, to the working man and woman. I first got involved in politics with my father. My father was a campaigner for John Kennedy. Do you remember what John Kennedy said in his inaugural address? He said, "A country that cannot address the needs of the poor cannot save the few who are rich." And he also reminded us that here on earth, God's work is truly our own. We are to be of service to others. Por otra personas. Servicio por otra personas. That's the promise. And I'm running for Congress because the people who wrote our Constitution, 2 años, a short time, but a time that would hold people accountable for what they did. Este Congreso, nada. It did nothing. It is the worst in our history, the least performing. It missed financial deadlines, which hurt our people, and it also has unemployment compensation. Every day that the Congress delays, 70,000 more people are without benefits. This is shameful. We need to address this.
Regresamos de nuevo con ustedes aquí con el señor Douglas, que viene a hacer campaña para el distrito 26 para el Congreso Nacional.
Sí.
Bienvenido de nuevo.
Well, it's bien día, señor. Or Hector.
Well, thank you.
It's it's a chance. I welcome this chance to speak to people who are very busy in life. They're busy raising their children. They're busy working. They're busy doing the things that America thrives on. And I worry that our Congress is becoming detached. It's not identifying with the needs of our people. And why is that? It's because it's becoming so expensive to run for office that these lobbyists give millions of dollars, and then the representatives are beholden to the lobbyists. Well, here's news. We're going to make history because I'm not beholden to anyone except the people in the district of 26.
So your seat is not for sale.
My office is not for sale. My concern will be the concern of the heart, the concern with the health needs, the housing needs, the education needs of our families here in Oxnard and in the district as a whole.
And then we have to take care of our veterans. They're coming back and there's nothing for them to come to.
Well, that's right. It's the people who feel, our veterans when answered the call without hesitation. They didn't say, "Oh, wait, I'll come back and help you later." They helped us when we needed them, and if they need health care, as many of them do because of the stresses of combat, if they need help getting housing, as many of them do, then that has to be our first order of business. I'm happy to say that one of my students, a Navy SEAL, just came to visit me at the school, and he's working in particular on a program that's a public-private program to provide housing for veterans in particular. And I think that's just a wonderful thing, and it's certainly the kind of thing that I would want to support.
I have a job for them.
Well, there's no question, but our economy is still faltering, and the jobs for them aren't there because the jobs aren't there for any of us. We have a situation where the wages being paid to families has been stagnant. They haven't been increasing in terms of buying power. And without purchasing power in the middle class and the average family, there's not going to be expansion of the economy, and there won't be jobs for veterans. But we can do better. We know how to do better. We know how to have a progressive tax system that's a fair tax system. We know how to address these issues because we've done it in the past. We've had economic depressions in the past. But we can't overlook the needs and pretend that everything is better just because people are buying luxury homes and luxury cars. That's a very small fraction. We ought to spend not billions of dollars on new weapons systems, but billions of dollars on new schools and on computer equipment and on books. I love books, they still exist, and for our children. Because if we invest in the right things, we will succeed.
Yeah, you can see in the parking lot all what kind of cars are people are driving. It's very, very few are new models. Most of them are older models. It shows how the economy is hurting our people.
Yes, they are driving the same car I am driving, which is a Chevrolet that the GM has now recalled and told me that they don't have the part, but wished me luck. Buena fortuna.
Buena fortuna.
So this is we have to realize we are all in this together. The veteran, the single mom, the married family, the elderly. You know, we have so many needs just to pull together, but we are capable, if we put our minds to it, of addressing these things because, you know, we have the capacity, the wealth, and we just have to put it in the right place.
So you're just telling us that there is hope.
There is very much hope. You know, se puede is the expression of the farm workers. And, you know, the farm workers are out there every day. And I know from being an older person that bending down is difficult. If you're bending down for 10, 12, 15 hours a day, picking strawberries and crops, if you're doing that in situations where there isn't even decent bathroom facilities, if you're doing that in situations where because your legal status is in a cloud, that they take advantage of you and they take the wages from you and they pay you a minimum amount, well, these are violations of human rights. These are violations of the dignity due todos hombres y mujeres. All men and women are entitled to human dignity and human rights. Derecho.
So once you get in office, because you will do, what can you do to change what is happening now?
Well, let's look at what we need right off the bat. In the Senate of the United States is an immigration bill which will regularize the status of all those who are here so-called irregularly. I don't use the word illegally because it's a silly word to use. The notion that someone is illegal makes no sense. It's an artificial illegality. The United States has a history in the past of welcoming people. That's how my grandparents and great-grandparents came here. We need to return to that history. We need an immigration bill that keeps families together, that meets labor needs, that makes it possible for people to come where the jobs are and to know where they are. And that is already taken shape in the Senate. We just need a House of Representatives that will act, and I want to be part of that House of Representatives that will take that action. Second, we need education where people can use their education dollars in the school that is best for them. So I support charter schools. I support the kinds of transfers that will allow people to send their children to parochial schools if that's the best match for them. These are education dollars ought to be spent for the child, not for the purpose of enriching the school administrator or enriching the particular person who's selling one good over another. And then health. The president has made a good start on widening the number of people who have health care, but we have to make sure that that health care now is quality health care, and so that the diagnoses that doctors make are the best possible ones that they can make under the circumstances. And what does that mean? That means breaking this price fixing that's going on in medicine. Anybody who's gone to the hospital, these overcharge because the prices are fixed. A bandage that costs a few dollars is costing $25, $50 in the hospital. These things are wrong. This is taking advantage of someone's weakened condition. So these are things that the law can address, and as somebody who advised presidents in the past as to what he could and could not do, I am in a position to know how to advance these things.
Well, that'd be wonderful, because our people are being left out. Every time you go to a hospital, they charge you so much, and I mean, how can you overcome that?
Well, the medicines, for example, you know, these people, these pharmacies, if you look at them, are making enormous billion-dollar profits year after year. Health is a human right. It's not an opportunity for just making profit. Every one of the CEOs of the insurance companies made multi-millions of dollars last year. How many people are still without insurance at all or can't afford the basic coverages? Until they meet those basic coverages, they ought not to be taking home $35 billion or $1 million for their salaries. That is just too much. I try to learn a nueva palabra todos el días. Esta palabra is bastante. Enough of this overcharging, enough of taking advantage of our citizens. Let's deal with the things that really matter. Family, education, work, immigration reform that keeps families together. It's way past due. It's overdue. It's este tiempo ahora. The urgency of now. You know, Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez. Let me just mention one other person. You know, I was a big fan of Robert Kennedy, and he told us that you can't just measure a community by the gross national product, because the gross national product includes air pollution, it includes pesticides, it includes the carnage on our highways, it includes the violence that threatens our children, but it doesn't measure the quality of their education, it doesn't measure the strength of our marriages, it doesn't measure the integrity of our debate, it doesn't measure, in short, all of those things that make life worthwhile. La vida bueno, the good life. It doesn't measure the things that our people, the working people, know makes America a good place. That's what I want to return to. It has been a pleasure to speak with you this morning about the many issues that confront us. The most important thing about my candidacy is that I don't want to be very far from home at any time in terms of the ideas that I'm responding to. That's why it's good to be standing here in front of the local city hall, because the way I view America is that it's from the bottom up, not from the top down. You should never displace the best decision makers, and the best decision makers in our life, we know we start out with our parents. They're the ones who love us, and our children, and we hope we do the best by them in the sense of leaving them a better day than even we had it. That's the American dream, isn't it? The hope that we can always leave a legacy better than the one that we've been given. And right this moment, the economic times don't allow that. And I want to be the closest. I want the people who influence me to be influencing me to raise us up, to be our better selves, to always be pulling in the direction of improving not just our economic circumstances, but how we care about one another, forming a community, right? Because we're not alone in this world. We were not meant to be alone. A long time ago, when America was founded, it was described as a city on a hill. But it was only going to be a city on a hill if people actually cared about one another, if they actually relied upon one another, if they went their own way, if they lived their own life as strangers, they were defeating their own purpose, and they wouldn't be that city on a hill. So we have to care about one another. And I hear folks even across the street telling us that we should care about them, and this is important, because one of the reasons why we hear cries of distress like that is because our national government decided some years ago that they would no longer care for those who were homeless, that they would no longer care for those who have a mental challenge. But we have to care for everyone in our community, whether they're elderly, whether they face a mental handicap, whether they have special needs as a child. But you only know those needs, you only find out about them if you're here, if you listen to the folks who are at home. So I may, with your blessing, be going to Washington, but I will never be far from you, because my job will not be to listen to the lobbyists on K Street and the people in fancy suits and fancy cars and the folks who are going to fancy receptions. I'd much rather be here for the celebration of the Grito on September 15 in the parade, to listen to the music and to respond as best I can to the needs of this community.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. It's great to hear those things, because at the end of the day, we are not against the people that makes all the money. We are against they not sharing that money by producing jobs that we can live off of.
That's right. Nobody's asking for a handout. People are asking for an opportunity. They're asking for the dignity of work. You know, when somebody meets us for the first time, we tell them our name, but it's only a matter of seconds before we say, and what do you do? What's your vocation? What's your calling? And that's an understandable thing, because God gave us talents, and the way that we influence the world is to extend those talents to others. Mm-hmm. We literally find ourselves by being of service to others, and I hope you'll support me in the primary. That will be a great blessing. But you've already blessed me by allowing me to meet you and to know your needs, and for that I am grateful in itself.
Well, thank you very much. We wish you the best of the luck, and thank you for being here with us at ALMA in the community. So we'll be hearing from you in the near future.
My thanks to ALMA and for this time this morning.